Thanks for joining us on Arirang News. I'm Kim Dami in Seoul. U.S. President Donald Trump says he'll substantially reduce joint military exercises with South Korea, citing his personal relationship with North Korean leader Kim Jong-un and the high cost of the drills. Now, the announcement comes on the very days Seoul and Washington kicked off their annual Ulchi Freedom Shield drills. Our Park Jun-an reports.
Just hours before South Korea and the United States were scheduled to launch their major combined military drills, the Ulchi Freedom Shield exercise, U.S. President Donald Trump took to social media, announcing he had directed Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth to substantially reduce the joint exercises. Posting on Truth Social on Sunday, President Trump wrote that the exercises are not only costly to America, but also send a signal that is totally inappropriate and hostile to North Korea. He said North Korean leader Kim Jong-un has been unthreatening and respectful under Trump's presidency. Some domestic and foreign media outlets are viewing this move as a dual-purpose strategy. On one hand, it serves as a gesture to Pyongyang to reopen dialogue, potentially offering Trump a diplomatic win ahead of the upcoming U.S. midterm elections. On the other hand, the timing may be intended to pressure South Korea to play a more active role in efforts to deter Iran amid the ongoing conflict in the Middle East. In the same post, Trump also pointed to underlying tensions between Washington and Seoul. He claimed he recently asked South Korea to join efforts toward the denuclearization of Iran, but said Seoul refused. Despite Trump's last-minute announcement, South Korean defense officials confirmed that the annual Ulchi Freedom Shield exercise will proceed as scheduled on Monday, running through August 27th. While North Korea has not yet commented on Trump's remarks, Pyongyang earlier this month conducted ballistic missile tests banned by the United Nations. The 11-day Ulchi Freedom Shield combined exercise involves approximately 18,000 South Korean troops alongside U.S. forces, with officials saying its scale is similar to previous years. Designed to reflect modern warfare threats and lessons learned from North Korea's participation in the Ukraine war, this year's drills focus heavily on operational capabilities. These include countering drone attacks, defending against GPS signal jamming, and responding to cyber warfare. The exercise also represents a potential milestone in the transfer of wartime operational control, an issue expected to feature prominently at this year's Security Consultative Meeting. Park Jun-an, Arirang News.
Korea's Industry Minister Kim Jung-kwan arrived in Washington on Sunday local time to finalize the details of Seoul's $200 billion investment package in the U.S. Arriving at Dulles International Airport, Kim said his visit aims to confirm last-minute practical issues ahead of the project's official announcement, which is expected around late August or early September. The investment is part of a broader trade agreement that previously lowered U.S. tariffs on Korean goods to 15%. Now, of the $350 billion package, $150 billion has already been allocated to a shipbuilding investment deal. When asked about reported pressure from the Trump administration to speed up the investment, Kim denied receiving such pressure but agreed on the need to accelerate the process. Korea's ruling Democratic Party at its national convention in Daejeon City on Monday is set to elect a new leader. Former Prime Minister Kim Min-seok is leading former party chairman Jung Chung-lee by 8.4 percentage points in cumulative party member voting. Now, the final result will combine votes from party members and delegates worth 70%, with a public opinion poll accounting for the remaining 30%. Kim has 49.91% of first-choice votes so far and could secure an outright victory with a majority, while Jung will look to overturn the deficit through the remaining votes and poll. If no candidate wins more than 50%, the party will redistribute second-choice preferences under its preferential voting system. And the DP is also electing 5 senior council members at the convention. Torrential rain has battered South Korea's southern coast, triggering landslides and flooding across parts of Gyeongsang-namdo province. More than 800 millimeters of rain fell in Jeju City over the 3-day Liberation Day holiday, with the city seeing over 100 millimeters of rain per hour, which authorities consider a disaster-level downpour. A landslide in the city early on Monday morning struck the first floor of an apartment building and killed a resident. Following the government's Level 1 emergency response on Monday, Prime Minister Han Sung-suk ordered authorities to mobilize all available personnel and equipment for rescue and evacuation efforts. So South Korea marked a National Liberation Day on Saturday, and to commemorate the occasion, the government invited descendants of independent activists living overseas to retrace their ancestors' footsteps and reconnect with their history. Our Park Chae-ryung has the story.
21 descendants of Korean independence activists begin their journey in Seoul to pay tribute to their ancestors. For some of them, the visit brings family stories they grew up hearing into a physical space.
Around a century ago, the ancestors fought for Korea's freedom. And today, descendants of the patriots have returned to the nation that their sacrifice helped build.
Inside Sadaemun prison, where many independence activists were imprisoned and tortured during Japanese colonial rule, the descendants come face to face with the harsh conditions their ancestors endured. Some who lost their great-grandfather in this prison share their thoughts.
I can't even imagine how this was difficult to be here. He tried his best to save the independence of Korea, but unfortunately his efforts lead him to death because
the South Korean government invites descendants living overseas to visit memorial sites across the country as a way of honoring the patriots who risked their lives for Korea's independence. The program began in 1995, marking the 50th anniversary of Korea's liberation. Since then, more than 1,000 descendants have taken part. At Seoul National Cemetery, remembrance becomes deeply personal. For the first time, the descendants quietly look over the names of those whose sacrifices helped shape the Korea they see today. For descendants raised overseas, the visit turns family stories they grew up hearing into something they can see, touch, and experience for themselves.
Yeah, we feel first very grateful to the Ministry of Patriots and Veterans of Korea. I'm also very proud of our predecessor, and we feel also very much of responsibility for ourselves, for our children also, to keep this memory.
The visit is not only about remembering individuals' sacrifice. At the National Memorial of the Korean Provisional Government, they saw how their own family histories fit into the broader movement for Korea's independence. For the descendants, the journey offers a deeper understanding of the history their families helped shape. It also ensures that those stories continue to be remembered across borders and generations. Park Chae-ryung, Arirang News.
For generations, Jeju's Haenyeo have free-dived the island's waters, preserving a unique tradition rooted in resilience, community, and respect for the sea. Our Hong Seo-jung tells us more.
A joyful song drifts across the seaside. The voices belong to the Haenyeo, Jeju Island's renowned female divers and bearers of its intangible cultural heritage. They plunge into the sea to harvest seafood, but unlike most divers, they don't use oxygen tanks. Recognized for their unique traditions and way of life, the Haenyeo were designated as a UNESCO Intangible Cultural Heritage in 2016. Haenyeo-run restaurants serving fresh seafood harvested by the divers also offer visitors an authentic taste of Jeju's unique culture. The freshness of the seafood and the Haenyeo's traditional culinary touch have also won over foreign visitors. Haenyeo culture holds significance not only as an intangible cultural heritage, but also as a unique cultural attraction for foreign visitors to Jeju. But as marine pollution continues to harm marine life, the number of Haenyeo is gradually declining.
The waters are polluted, so there isn't much to harvest anymore. For this tradition to continue, there needs to be enough marine life in the sea for the Haenyeo to keep doing what we do.
In order to honor and contribute to preservation of Haenyeo culture, the Haenyeo Museum on Jeju Island provides guided programs to explain its history and traditions.
We didn't really know about the history of the Haenyeo, how they forged their own paths, or much about their lives and culture. I hope more opportunities will be created for people to learn about and understand their culture.
Foreign tourists also showed an interest in Haenyeo culture.
First time listen Haenyeo culture and history. Oh, Haenyeo very hot.
Haenyeo divers today have very diverse backgrounds, from environmental activists and influencer Haenyeo to foreigner Haenyeo.
I hope there will be Haenyeo in the next generation who can continue diving together, and I hope we can have clean and safe seas. I want to help protect the ocean and together with my fellow Haenyeo, carry on the Haenyeo culture.
The Haenyeo culture has lasted this long through the dedication of its members. Now younger Haenyeo are showing the same dedication to keep the culture alive. 홍서정, 아리랑 뉴스, 제주.
That is all we have for now. Arirang News will be back at 6 p.m. Korea time. Until then, goodbye.